At the very start of this show, almost 20 years ago, I remember having a conversation with Stugotz that I wonder, based on what I just saw from the ratings numbers of Yankees, Red Sox, whether we could revisit today, because I don't feel like I had a good answer some 20 years ago when this question made an appearance, and I'm not sure that I can answer it better today, but we've had a lot of experiences over the last 2 decades and seen a lot happen in the world. So the Yankees end up, because of the Red Sox-Yankee rivalry, because of what we were talking about yesterday, baseball is so fun this time of year, and then the stakes. Everybody loves stakes with games. It's not even that the baseball is that good, though it is. You put stakes on games, and it's 162 seasons distilled to one game. People will gather around their televisions.
That's what makes it fun, though, right? I mean, that's what makes it fun. Sorry for the voice.
Yes, but baseball, you're going to need to probably quit.
No. I do not need tea today. I just need to speak the first sentence, which I just did, and now the voice is good to go.
You can do that before we go on air. What I was going to say before you interrupted me, it's not working. You're smoking too many heaters. But
I didn't have one.
I would say nobody believes you. Oh, for the love of God.
Yo,
I said today.
Actually,
you don't believe that either.
No.
I didn't.
No.
Mike, no, I did not.
I agree. He didn't have one today.
Today. Yes! Not one.
He had 7. He's had 7.
Let me smell your fingers.
Yeah. Let me smell your fingers.
Well, no, it's a permanent stain now. I mean, I didn't have one today. I didn't. I'm telling you.
Yesterday, nobody believes you. What happened to the chickens? Mike?
I was setting up a joke. 7.
It's 7.
So obvious that he's lying.
Classic setup. Or a comedy troupe.
Most obvious lie ever.
Fortified chemistry over 15 years.
This happens when you leave the room. You don't know the things that are said about you when you're taking your 20-minute heater break. When you waddle out, don't tell anybody, and we're just sitting here waiting for you. And Mike just muttered yesterday, I wish I knew whether it was going to be 5 minutes or 25. And then he just he didn't sob, but he's like, it was great remorse and worry when he said, I just wish you weren't addicted to heaters.
Yeah, me too.
Red Sox Yankees gets 7.7 million viewers. What I was going to say before you interrupted me, you thought I was going to give you some sort of advice of some sort. I was not. I was just saying maybe you can stop apologizing for this and fix it, because it's happening with the first sentence you're speaking every day. And I feel like it's avoidable if you just talk a little loudly in the hallway or something.
Right. Yep, you're right. I'll start doing it moving forward.
Well, I don't believe that either. I don't.
You've been heard, Dan.
I mean, it's not heard. I just would think that it's something that you would do because of how bad people are noticing how bad your voice has gotten. You're a professional broadcaster. Celine Dion protects her voice. It's your money-making tool. If your voice falls apart because of throat issues or anything else, we've got, all of us have a problem on our hands. You're Kyrie Irving all of a sudden. We're all looking at you like we kind of need you out here.
But no one has a bigger problem than me in that scenario,
I know, but but you're a team player. We all have a problem. Protecting your voice is also your money, and because no one has a bigger problem than you, I would think you would protect your voice.
I am. I mean, I drank tea a couple times this week. How about that?
Whittingham has to strong arm you to drink tea.
I mean, I don't see any tea here today. I mean,
we just had a 15-minute conversation in here before we started recording, and he sounded fine. But then his first sentence on air.
Because broadcast voice, he's got to go pick it up. He's got to go get the fastball. He's an old junk baller, and he's got to go get the fastball. And when he gets the fastball, because he's at this stage in his career, I
gotta warm up.
The
You're
old
right.
junk baller, you can't run out there like you used to 20 years ago. Just sprint on the field and go without calisthenics or anything else. But he thinks he can. This is the delusion of all greatness.
I have to stretch. You're right. I mean,
7.7 million, the biggest number since 1998, the biggest baseball game. And then it peaked at 8.4 million between 10:15 and 10:30. So even late night, people are, still locked into the game. And in Boston, 20% of all televisions.
Wow.
All televisions watching a baseball game. And the question I asked you 20 years ago is, would our show work in Boston? Would what we do, where they take sports that seriously, where they dissect a bunt or managerial move, baseball Baseball was first to the whole strategy game and the whole numbers game. We understand what we're measuring. Mike told you yesterday, Mina Kimes is a monster now, and that show is great. The way they were talking about Patrick Mahomes is something I wasn't seeing anywhere on television. Just that he is getting rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds, and when he does, he's well above average, everyone in the league, at how good he is at it, and he's well above average on passes that should be completions that might not be for a number of different reasons. Where a ball's thrown. We have so many numbers now in football and basketball. Baseball started that a long time ago. The zeal that they have for Boston in sports has helped birth Barstool, Bill Simmons, Joe Rogan, like all of these people start with that wave of we love this thing. But our show, I don't think, loves it less than anybody else, but we do tend to talk about it seriously less than most people in this arena. Doesn't mean we're not interested in it, but we cannot dissect the strategy. I can't sit here. When we started in this profession, Stugotz, last night's St. Louis Dodger game and the managerial moves, we would spend a good portion of this show learning from the people who did it before, talking about whether the managerial move was a problem or 0 for 11 in runners in scoring position was why the Cardinals season ended. We would dissect it like that. We do not talk about sports that way anymore, and it's developed the allegiance of this audience. But would this work in Boston? I posed the question.
It didn't. I remember those EEI affiliate calls.
We didn't do well?
No.
Huh.
I hated us there.
I guess you have your answer.
If you're listening to sports talk radio in Boston, you've grown up with a certain type of show. We are a stark departure of that, and I understand why we didn't work there.
This was one of the discussions we were having when Highly Questionable started on ESPN2, because my sensibilities are make it lighter. Make whatever it is that we're doing. You can throw the serious stuff in there, but just make it the circus tent. And the people who are at ESPN2 were at ESPN2, Stugotz, because they really love sports.
Yes.
They really want sports. And so we were doing something that was goofy and weird, and people reacted to it poorly because that was not the place for it.
But Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. We did well in New York, did we not?
We did. We did very well in New York.
Did and do.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In terms of the podcast numbers, New York is our best state.
Okay, but New York is a little bit different than Boston. Would we not agree? In a lot of different ways, New York
yes
has,
although it's getting a lot more similar because a lot of those people are coming down here. What's up, Jess?
God, there's so many of them coming down here. Our real estate, what is happening down here is totally bananas.
I didn't ask for any of this.
EEI affiliate calls. I did not think that's where we would start today, but tell me more, because you shielded me from all of these things.
I was also, those were more contentious because there was a lot of racial things at play, and they had hosts there that were habitual line steppers. I'm trying to be careful with my words because that's as professional as I could label it. Yeah, there was a lot of beef there. They didn't like us. They took like personal attacks against us, so I didn't really give a shit about what they had to say about the show because I didn't respect them nor their opinions nor how they went about their business. So I wasn't the nicest person to deal with on those calls with respect to EEI. It wasn't just about EEI, it was about on the whole, and we would focus on bigger, more important markets for us. And when it came time to discuss EEI, my attitude soured.
Look at that crowd on our televisions here from last night, Stugotz. A walk-off home run. I'm sorry if you had the Cardinals plus 1.5 on runs.
I did.
Because a walk-off home run turned a 1-1 game that you had won the entire game. It's great to win those. It's so rare to win when you are betting one way or the other. You need your team to win by 2 runs, or you need them to win by, or lose by only a run.
We focus so much on bad beats. How about great wins? I mean, if you had the Dodgers minus 1.5, what a great gambling victory you had last night. Huh?
Hello.
I feel like you're a better of favorites, Chris. I don't know why you entered the chat as Ethel Merman there for some reason.
The last few weeks, I've actually picked up an Inferno, so I'm not making any of my own decisions anymore. And it's working out a lot better.
Yes.
Can we have a radio Inferno for you too, where you also don't make your own decisions?
Sure.
Tell me more. Tell me more about this ringer that you picked on. Is it a sucker's bet to bet the favorite to win by more than a run in baseball? Is that I imagine that's a dumb bet.
You'll get beat up by the juice monster over time.
I've never honestly bet baseball run line before last night, but what Inferno says, I do.
Why did you enter the chat as Ethel Merman? I want to know why you.
That was honestly a Greg Cody move I did right there. He does like hello when he like feels like he's right on something.
Have you noticed some places, or more importantly, has your wife noticed some places where you are starting to resemble your father, even though you are in your early 30s?
Oh, no.
My personality. More so than I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, I notice all the time that like things my dad has said my whole life are just like popping into my head to say, and I'm saying them more and more. I used to like push those things away, and now I just lean in. It's funny, man. He's a funny guy. Say what you want about him. He's funny.
Why do you think I'm friends with him? What else is being offered there?
Oh, Dog, Dan, be careful, man.
Toenails?
He cares about you, and I care about you. He's very upset.
He is upset because I called him a useless person, and I just can't believe we've arrived at a place in this country when it comes to free speech where I am choosing useless person as less offensive thing to say to him because I'm speaking of a single useless person than if I were to offend all useless people, because I only did that accidentally. I don't think Greg Cody is a useless person. I think he's got funny and is otherwise useless. And I think his wife and his family might agree with me on that. I was simply trying to avoid politically incorrect language on what it is I was going to call him.
Do you have things that your dad said growing up that you are now using? Like my dad used to get the check all the time at a restaurant, and he would say, "What'd we do? Break a window?"
That's my dad's thing too. The exact same thing.
And I started to say it every time we go out for dinner.
My wife hates me. What, do we break a window? It's a good joke. You get it because if you were to break a window, you would get charged extra. It's a really good joke.
You understand it?
Thank you for explaining the layers and the nuance in it. You guys are comedy geniuses. I didn't understand it, but now that you've explained it,
right,
as if as if that's the most expensive thing that you can cite there. The breaking of a window. We're at the point where meals cost more than that now.
The windows, yes.
Yes. In talking about the politically incorrect language, though, Stugotz, I finally got to Chappelle's special last night, and this was an interesting form of conflict for me. I told you I saw Chappelle when he was at the Hard Rock. It was Chappelle. He's one of the best public orators ever, not just comedians. He's probably the best comedian. I think he's the best I've ever seen. But public orators, he's up there with Martin Luther King, Farrakhan, wherever it is that you go with public orators, great speakers, he's at the top of the list. And his show, after making people at the Hard Rock go in for a rehearsal or equivalent of a rehearsal for this Netflix special, took 9 hours through the labyrinth of you got to get tested, you got to get in there. They were on super late. He was drunk when he went on, and it wasn't him trying. And I was disappointed in that. And I told you, is it fair for me to ask the best to be better? Ask the best to be better. And it's what I'm about to do now after watching his special, because I was pleased that he didn't use anything from what it is that he was working on to sharpen that act. And these, I'm fascinated by stand-up comedy. The art of it, the sculpting, those acts take a year to prepare before they're put in television. The memorization, the notes, the music in it, the word choices, they're very specific. When Dave Chappelle has a special, he's trying to say something, Stugotz. And this special, have any of you seen it? Because this has made its way around now, and unfortunately what I'm watching is an argument a political argument break out about the trans community and how much of his act he's spending there, and that it seems that he did the entire special just to keep doubling down on the ego of you can't do anything to me, which he's not wrong. He has earned the freedom. You can't cancel him. He's too big and strong. He doesn't need your sponsorships. He's got the relationships where he got Netflix.
He does. He needs Netflix.
Well, he's done with his specials for Netflix, and there will be a bidding war for whatever is next for him. And he got everyone, these big corporations, when he said, pay me for my stuff, got him to bow with public pressure because of what rolls behind him, because they appreciate that since he started, it was like, that dude's going to get canceled. That dude's he's running on the edge and enjoying it from the first Chappelle show where they come out of the box and they're doing television unlike any that's ever been done. Race being done differently than it's ever been done on television. And then the story that follows, which is not irrelevant and might be more interesting than how famous and the best he's become, the things he turned down to get to this particular freedom that makes Kevin Hart envy him because he's got this freedom. And I don't think he's cancelable. To use that power this way feels to me like a waste of his time and his talent. This way, to just throw chum in the water that allows people to argue, and instead of talking about what a craftsman he is, just argue about the political choices of the moment, the argument du jour. However, I also think that he thinks because these things are chosen so specifically, the words over a year sculpted, he thinks he's doing his job as a comedian. It's a job to protect comedy and to bump up against these things. He thinks it's the job, Stugotz, and he wanted to get out there and very purposely say, and this is art. This is the part that you were willing to risk when you're an artist to get people to talk about your art. What he is crying for in the middle of that, if you could get past the noise of the trans community, is why are black people still last in line when it comes to getting the fairness? What he keeps doing again and again is the reminder that my prism is the black prism, and we've had it worse than anybody. Now, my disappointment is I just don't want him to make it harder for vulnerable groups, because he comes from that. And I don't know how much he's been changed by hanging out with Kanye and Elon Musk. I don't know how much that changes a human being, but you don't have to use that power, that microscope, that freedom that he has. You don't have to use it to go after a vulnerable group because they've skipped you in line on the empathy meter from America. Like, the act is well honed. Like, I understand what he's trying to say. A lot of it's being missed because it's just the argument of why are you still, like, it's just the absolutism of get out of here, Dave Chappelle. You're a hating person. Get out of here. I hate you. I've lost all respect for you. Or applauding Dave Chappelle. Hey, brave Dave Chappelle, going where comedy doesn't go. I don't think what he's doing is brave. I think he can spin a basketball on his finger that is comedy forever. And it's easy for him because he's a monster talent envied by the other comedians who are like, how the bleep does he do that? How is it possible that he's that kind of home run hitter? I've told you, Stugotz, Chris Rock and Seinfeld talking in a documentary about comedy, marveling that Bill Cosby could just sit there for 2 hours and do his act. Chris Rock and Seinfeld, best that you see. Just being like floored because Bill Cosby could just sit up there and do it without having to sculpt every word on where the laugh is. Roy, what did you think of the special?
Well, for certain parts of it, I thought he was trying to explain away everything that he said about the trans community over the past couple of specials and over his career. But he did bring up, like you said, the LGBT community, their movement being so successful. And that is very much true, especially compared to the black community. Like, he's right. Like, it's almost like, what are we doing wrong as a black community that we're not as successful as that community? Like, what can we do? It's almost like we can learn from them.
At reaching people, but it is interesting because it's not an irrelevant point that he's making. As people shout about the act, Stugotz, the cry in it for, he ends it with stop punching down on me. He ends it, the accusation that he's getting is you're punching down on the trans community. And his argument is, no, if we're all equal, there is no punching down. And then he ends this tapestry that he's weaving over a year as the greatest public order we've seen in comedy. He ends it with, stop punching down on me.
I think the biggest criticism that I've read about this special that I will admit I haven't watched yet is that he fails to recognize that these issues are intersectional, that there are members of the Black LGBTQ community who are desperate for him to stop punching down on them, and that for there to be any sort of progress, that we're all kind of working towards the same thing, right? Like, it's not one versus the other. It's not like one marginalized group versus another marginalized group.
I know
trans violence is a Black issue because Black trans violence in particular is astronomical compared to other groups. So generally whatabouts never really get you anywhere when trying to discuss social issues.
So symbolic to me, though, that you'd find all of our divisions even there, right? That everything you see happening in basketball, LeBron, a spokesman for his people on the vaccine, not a spokesman for everybody. LeBron often a spokesman for choosing his people and saying, no, I don't speak for everybody.
But that's somewhat normal, is it not? I mean, LeBron speaking for his people.
But the divisions is what I'm saying. If Jessica's bringing up, hey, there are intersections here, there are connection points where you can also apply it to your people. Right. To me, the symbolism of one of the great orders of our time being so ravaged by the divisions that he's simply saying, no, I'm choosing my side over here. Stop beating up on us. Stop telling me about gay feelings. Stop telling me about, before you get to Black feelings, we were first here on the injustices. Our injustices are longer. And to me, that's what art is. He's in the middle of the conflict of our times, telling you, going to the third rail, going to the rail where he knows it's dangerous with more freedom than any comedian has ever had before. And he's telling you, I want to be heard on this. And I can't tell whether it's just his ego because I can, or whether he actually wants to make the larger statement, because that dude was heartbroken for 9 minutes off of the top of his head when he was talking about George Floyd, and people were expecting funny, and he went with 9 societal minutes where everybody was hypnotized because they were like, oh my God, the way this guy speaks about it is like no one you've heard.
It's a pig-headed rationalization that he's spent 5 specials trying to craft, and he's finally found himself here, and he just perpetuates nonsense. It's actually below him, considering where I put him. And I'm going to stop elevating him to a degree because just admit you were wrong. Show an evolution. Help. Don't perpetuate the same violence with your words. What is your base? Are you speaking for all Black people here? Are you just speaking for Black men? Or just Black men that think like you? There's a reason why he aligns with Joe Rogan. Like the whole independent thinker, and like that's his thing. And to try to intellectualize what he's saying in this is kind of, to me, gullible. Because to me, it's very clearly just him trying to work through a rationalization because he won't give you, like Joe Rogan won't give you, the satisfaction of admitting he was wrong. That's really at the heart of what's going on with the vaccine in this country. It's the last line of defense that a lot of people have to hold over you. You can take my president. You can tell me everything I believe is fake, but you cannot make me put this in my arm. And I will be damned if I let you have that on me. There's no stronger force in this country than men refusing to admit they were wrong.
Spoken from the...
Which is why
experience.
I'm still not totally sold on Justin Herbert. Things that might seem inappropriate. But I don't think Anthony Jeselnik is one of the great thinkers of the 21st century. I go to Anthony Jeselnik to laugh at dark stuff because of my childhood. And I just turn to that stuff, and I have a weird sense of humor that way. I don't elevate Anthony Jeselnik to this thought-provoking tastemaker. I just think he's the guy with the dark comedy. And maybe Chappelle is just a guy that used to make me laugh with funny skits.
It also doesn't seem like Anthony Jeselnik has any sense of anger or kind of is going after people. It's just he's poking fun at something that is incredibly dark. Whereas it does feel like Dave Chappelle is trying to say something right? It's not just about let me try and make you laugh.
He's also got reasons to be angry that perhaps Jeselnik does not have. Dave Chappelle also, one of the things that I find just it's riveting to me about the entirety of the journey is the comedian for our times is arriving at this intersection with more power and freedom to not be cancelable than anyone we've ever seen. He's in control of everything. He locks up your phone when you come in, and he ripped me off when he came to town and made me wait 9 hours, and I did. I waited 9 hours, and they took my phone because not a sentence of this will get out to the public.
Those monsters.
And he didn't.
I mean, for real, what did you do? Like, what did your thumbs do while you were sitting there?
I mean, seriously.
Did you
9
just
hours?
look at him the whole time? Did you blink?
They took my phone is going to become the new I buried my grandparents. I did say that as if it was just a huge outrage.
I mean, 9 hours, though. I mean, without a phone.
I said, but I was indignant. I was told they took my phone. I pled with you, the audience, to understand the pain of that.
Somewhere, someone was signing a two-way contract, and I couldn't find out.
I've never felt your pain more. I mean,
I was clawing at the sack that my phone was in. They locked it up and I was ripping at it. I was like, these monsters.
Did they at least let you go play blackjack?
It was a nightmare to get there and get into that show. And it was a ripoff. And he didn't use any of that material. None of it.
are you guys bailing after like 35 minutes? No phone. You're waiting in line. You have no idea how long it's going to be. I am gone inside of 45 minutes.
That's a great question then. Who makes it so you're not?
I'm gone after like 6 minutes without Twitter or TikTok.
But who makes it so you're not, though? Because you guys don't love Chappelle that way.
Well, I guess I'm going to find out on Saturday because Jason Jackson is taking all of our phones for your roast.
What?
I had this experience when my friends opened up for the Rack on Tour. Jack White's my favorite musician. He famously seals people's phones in those sacks. Shout out to Jacuzzi Boys.
But who's the person that you would wait 9 hours to see without your phones? Like, I would wait 9 hours to see the Grateful Dead if they took my phone. I'd wait. I love them that much that I would wait for the concert. I don't know if I'd do it for a single comedian. Not one.
Oh, does it have to be a comedian? Because I was going to say Lewis Hamilton. I would lock up my phone to meet Lewis Hamilton.
Wow. I don't think that it has to be a comedian. Mike, who would you do it for? You'd do it for Jack White. You'd do it for a lot of musicians.
I did it for Jack White for 4 days, 4 straight days. Loved it. I was really immersed in it, and I've taken lessons from that. Whenever I'm at birthday dinners specifically, put the phone away, give it to my wife, I put it in her purse. I'm trying to do this a little bit more because I am, a lot of my memories are clouded by just being in my phone. I'm really trying to pay attention to the sights and sounds of things.
Smells.
Let's backtrack for a second.
Smell for me is like my strongest sense of memory.
Right.
So I'm like, when I first get into a place I really want to remember, I'm like a psycho just going around like, that's not a cocaine joke.
And you're not alone doing that in Miami, by the way.
So whenever you smell like
that is a cocaine
sewage,
joke.
whenever you smell sewage, you just think of Orange Bowl.
And I think of the softball fields at Lollapalooza Grand Park.
Do you have favorite smells on this front? Do you have a handful? If we did top 5, Mike Ryan, because I like the idea of
smells are important.
I like
man.
the idea of you
Let me. I got top 5 smells.
I mean, I
that are
remember
tied closest to memory.
Yeah, the smell of the duck pond in my town when I was growing up. It was just. I know it sounds weird, but there was this mossy, beautiful, springish smell to it that I remember until this day.
What
it's
a little,
weird.
What a little poem you wrote there.
Thank
a tapestry to your childhood.
Yeah.
It's not going to surprise you guys at all that for me, it's an ice cream shop.
Mike, what's the smell that comes to mind when you think of the old 790 studio?
That Gary Blau.
Yeah.
Gary Blau.
He had a smell. Yeah, he did.
I was going to say gout. I was looking for the disease that I could go to that
Jonathan
would be a funny.
actually had gout. That wasn't a joke earlier in the week.
Are you talking about that smell that comes out of Kilwins? Is that the smell? I mean,
that's good. That is a good smell.
Nope. Dairy Queen, bitch.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Little blizzard, huh?
Dairy Queen.
Has a smell, though?
All these
Oberweis has a smell.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You guys don't have Oberweis though. Never mind.
Is anyone else never that impressed when the Dairy Queen thing does the thing with the blizzard where they flip it upside down? It's like, we get it. Your ice cream's thick. Not that impressive.
Put it on the poll, Whittingham, please. We get it. Your ice cream's thick, not that impressive. One word, yes or no.
Just give me my blizzard.
Are you ready, Mike Ryan, for top 5 smells that you associate
I've got
with
4.
childhood?
I need you to fill for just
Exciting.
How about
30
you,
more
Whittingham?
seconds.
How about you, Roy? How about Chris? Does the back row have some smells that they associate with childhood? Because now I want you to imagine Mike Ryan as a dog sniffing places as soon as he arrives. He doesn't want to talk to you people. He doesn't like small talk. But if you see him sniffing, you know what he is doing. It's not just avoiding you.
The smell of the first snow of the year. You guys also can't relate to that one.
At
Damn it.
all.
I know
At
what you're
all.
talking about.
No, we
It's
don't
a good
know.
smell.
It just has like
Yeah.
a clean, cold smell.
The smell of food in my grandma's house for Thanksgiving. The turkey,
Oh, yeah.
crump.
Yeah.
Give me a hug.
Please don't touch
All right, I'm ready with my.
me. Get away from me.
I'm ready with my top 5.
Roy's not much of a hugger.
No,
I've seen him
no.
hug
That was
very few
beautiful.
people. In
Like,
20,
here.
it was beautiful. Roy, it
Please,
was.
please don't touch me.
How do you not get enveloped in the bosom and the joy and the warmth of Chris Cody? If you were gonna hug somebody around here, I would think it would be Chris Cody.
It would probably be Stugotz, actually.
That a boy.
Yeah.
We've hugged it out before.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we
hugged it
have.
out.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I love Roy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Mike.
The Orange Bowl.
Excellent. Excellent.
Urine, beer, rust, and fear. The Orange Bowl.
Number 4.
The Aria in Las Vegas. If you've ever been, you know what I mean. I almost died because of their buffet, but man, it smelled great.
This is not a smell from childhood. I thought I was going to get nostalgic childhood memories.
I mean, the OB,
Instead,
I
I'm
mean.
getting degenerate memories.
I would say the thicker Las Vegas smell is the Caesars, because there's just like this, like you smell cigarettes there. Like in theory, they pump oxygen into those places so you don't smell cigarettes, and yet the Caesars still smells like cigarettes.
That leads me to my number 3, the tobacco room at Dania High Life. I can still smell it
So can I.
because I think whatever happened in that room is still lodged in my nostrils several years after going there. Number 2 is Grand Park, actually. Lollapalooza, the smell of dried beer on clay. It kind of smelled like shit. And then they put hay on top of it to try to make it smell less like shit, and it only made it smell more like barnyard shit.
It's the smell of drunk 14-year-olds
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, drunk 14-year-olds and mud from the night before. But all that being said, Muse killed it for that one song. And number 1, Jason Taylor.
Excellent. Excellent. Well done. Well done. Man.
A couple of football things before we get to more Chris Russo sound, because we always used to be Stephen A. Smith. If
Mhm.
Stephen A. Smith was going nuclear on First Take, we would stop the show. And I think now that we are clearly a more diluted product that doesn't have ESPN's characters in our cartoon kingdom, do we have to make a new rule that if we have Chris Russo sound, we have to stop everything that we're doing and play the Chris Russo sound? Because I want to give you some good Bills stats. I want to give you some good Kyler Murray stats. But I think Chris Russo, in this new incarnation of our show over the last year, post-pandemic, does Chris Russo qualify as someone who we need to stop programming to go to his sound?
He's earned it. The Mad Dog.
A
Yeah.
promotion, Mike
Mhm.
Ryan, you're willing? A promotion for Mad Dog.
You know Mad Dog's a radio guy, and occasionally radio guys get asked to read liners. So here's Chris Mad Dog Russo being asked to read a liner.
I love it.
You know, I made a decision. They've been begging me to promote it. I said, here's what I'll do. When Tom sends me a text saying, Chris, it's great to be on the channel, great to be part of it, as everybody else does, including McAfee. Everybody has done in the last 13 years. When Tom sends me one, and he can send it through Jim, so I don't have to know his number.
Tom is
so
Brady.
he doesn't have to worry about me responding. When I get that, then I'll promote that show like you wouldn't believe.
So he wants to be heard. He wants Tom Brady to reach out to him.
That is Mad Dog's channel. It has been for many, many years. He is giving an hour of his channel to Tom Brady and Jim Gray and occasionally Larry Fitzgerald, and he wants someone to thank him, and he wants it to be Tom. I mean,
yeah, there were no other takers for that show apparently. So thank you.
Tom Brady is begging him for promotion. Tom Brady is begging for promotion.
Can you play for me why it is that Brady might not want to go on Mad Dog's station or show or genuflect at the knee of Mad Dog? Hell of a career for Mad Dog, Stugotz, from sports radio to behind a paywall, own channel, still doing it.
but let me be clear. The show is on Mad Dog Radio. I know the sound you're about to play, but the show is airing on Chris's station. It's his. And he just wants Tom to acknowledge, hey, thanks for making me a part of the station. I mean,
I don't know that there would be a great clamoring for that show. Would there be? Because Tom Brady can sell anything. I saw an interview with him the other day. Like, he's going to go into fashion lines. You don't think Tom Brady, whenever he does retire, if he ever does retire, he's going to go into business with this same kind of zeal. He's going to sell his name. You don't think that Tom Brady, somebody would buy whatever product he's selling just because it's Tom Brady?
I do think people, and by the way, it's sponsored by Ring Video Doorbell. Like, Brady does the commercials for him. They're stiff, but he does the commercials for him. I think there's a huge market for anything Brady does because people would spend a lot of money on Tom
Is
Brady.
Brady not going to go on Mad Dog's channel because of this?
Shut the hell up. Shut up. Keep your mouth shut. Your son got nailed. Keep your freaking mouth shut. Framegate my. Shut up. Stay low. Shut the hell up, Framegate. You mean, are you kidding me? Come on, the guy cheated, folks. Let's be honest. I got to listen to Tom Brady's old man now, who, has lived in the bubble, and has lived under the scenario where his kid's been a phenomenal player all this time, and now he's trying to disparage the guy who spent 246 pages writing about it. Shut up. Put that guy on. See if he's got the guts to talk to somebody who's going to ask him a tough question. Go ahead. Better yet, put his son on. Let's see what he has to say. Put your son on. Don't hide. USA Today. Come on. Come on, talk shows. Hey, come on now. Come on right now. Say that to me. Say that to anybody. Say it to somebody.
And now he just wants him to say thank you.
It's honestly, Art. Honestly, it is. Let's look at the career of Mad Dog and let's look at the career of Tom Brady and let's look at how Mad Dog looks at himself and how Tom Brady looks at himself. Mad Dog wants to be thanked for helping create Tom Brady through sports radio, the existence of Tom Brady, and thank me. That's a monster ego. I love that he's that kind of cartoon character, but why wouldn't he think that when he comes from sports radio pioneering and then reinvented an own channel? He's got an own channel where Tom Brady's show has to exist.
They've made a 30 for 30 about one radio show, I believe. And it was Mike and the Mad Dog. And then he has his own channel. So why wouldn't he have the ego to think that Brady should say thank you?
I wish they'd never broken up. I honestly wish that they had never broken up. Because,
and they were still doing the show now?
Oh, my God. It would be so wonderful to have young people attacking that show. People would still be listening to that show.
Yes.
There's no disputing that, correct? Even in the age as radio changes and falls apart, if Mike and the Mad Dog, the original sports radio pioneers, were still doing a show together, it would exist and be popular, at least in part, because young people could just make fun of it.
No doubt. But I will also tell you this. There is an older demographic that would take it seriously. If those guys reunited in New York, Dan, and did a local radio show, it'd be the highest rated show in that market by far. I'm telling you.
And it would be a great source for young people making fun of it at every turn. But let's get to these football stats, Stugotz, because you've got Kyler Murray is now 13 for 18 on throws more than 20 yards down the field. He wasn't that kind of accurate before. It's a small sample, but he's throwing the ball well deep down the field. And the Bills have won 11 of their last 13 with a point differential of 212. The Bills have been a bit overwhelming and can, with this quarterback that I once called terrible, they can take advantage of the same AFC East that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick took advantage of for a long time, because there's a great deal of incompetence in this division.
They're going to. It seems like they're going to. We'll see how Zach Wilson turns out with the New York Jets, but I'm excited for the Bills and the Chiefs this weekend. Like, that's a rematch of the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen has to get past Patrick Mahomes at some point, so I'm super excited.
At some point, it just started. The whole thing just started.
Does he?
I don't know.
Have to get past him at some point?
I don't know.
But
Actually,
what
it's
do you
a good
mean
point.
at some point? They just started
You have
this.
to figure that if Josh Allen's going to win some Super Bowls here, eventually he's going to have to go through Patrick Mahomes
Yeah,
to get
if he's
him.
going to win
Right.
some Super Bowls
Thank
here, I
you.
agree.
Thank you, Stugotz.
I have a great Patrick Mahomes
Stugotz,
stat.
what are you doing?
I was talking
some
some pigskin.
I know,
mean,
but at some point,
yeah,
you're going to already.
I'm just saying I'm excited for the game.
Josh
That's all.
Allen
Can I
just-
be excited for a game?
Josh Allen just went from me calling him terrible
Yeah.
to MVP of the league good.
Mm-hmm.
He just got here.
Right.
He fixed his recklessness problems and his accuracy problems. It is a joy to watch him have people physically bounce off of him. And
Yep.
then he rolls to his right, creates a 7-second pocket, and throws the ball a laser beam. Stronger arm than anyone in the league. 40 yards with accuracy right into the corner of the end zone to Diggs. Didn't think it was possible. He is John Elway with a lot more muscles and a lot bigger. And it's crazy to see. I don't know if he can be that kind of accurate, but the Bills look to be formidable for a while. You just got to the conversation, and your first entry point on talking sports is to already demand that he beat Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback any of us have ever seen. They just started.
I know, but he lost, and I expect more out of Josh Allen. I do, and I expect it this year. Like, Dan, I want to see how that defense plays on the road against that offense and that offense at home. I am interested to see how that defense
It's an
holds
interesting
up.
game. I'm not
Yes.
disputing that.
Right.
I'm just saying the pressure of putting Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes, everyone's going to lose to
I'm
Patrick.
applying the pressure early.
Everyone's
I know.
going to lose a lot to Patrick Mahomes the next few years if he stays healthy.
Good old-fashioned sports debate broke out here once you compared Josh Allen to John Elway. Number one, how dare you? Number two, he's Cam Newton.
I mean, Justin Herbert has no issues beating Patrick Mahomes. I mean, just did it, Derek Carr.
Yeah, but
same
at what
thing.
point are you going to say do it in the playoffs, Justin Herbert?
When he loses to him in the playoffs? Yeah.
You think Josh Allen is what? He was an MVP candidate last year. And again, they're winning 212 point differential in their last 13 games. He seems to have cured his recklessness. He's part of the position that's changing throughout the sport.
How many passing yards did Davis Mills have in that game? 3?
So you're
Davis
just
Mills? Yeah, sorry, Davis Mills.
neck fold.
Sorry,
Yes.
I didn't remember your name. Clearly, you're going to resonate for quite some time here.
Yeah, Tony brings up a good point back here, which is the 40-0 game against the Texans kind of skews things. They played the Steelers, which they lost, the Dolphins, Washington football team, and the Texans. It's not necessarily like the gauntlet.
People are asking, I'm serious, Dan, to your point, because you had concerns about Josh Allen. They're saying, which Josh Allen are the Bills going to get this weekend? The good Josh Allen, the bad Josh Allen?
But guys, I mean, I just told you, you've got Arizona as the last undefeated after 4 games. Everyone in this league is equal. Everyone's been playing the Texans. We're laughing at Urban Meyer because he lost to them. Everybody's been playing the Texans. I'm giving you a 13-game sample. If I started this season with the Bills winning 11 of their 13 games with a point differential of 212, you would be telling me that's the Super Bowl favorite. You wouldn't be parsing, oh, they played Houston that one time. I'm telling you, they're slaughtering people. For 13 games, they're slaughtering people. And Josh Allen, I said he was terrible. Me, who's always laughing at quarterback evaluation, I saw so many throws where he'd roll to his left and a guy's wide open in the end zone and he'd throw it into the first row, Stugotz. We'd laugh at highly questionable at the most inaccurate quarterback that I've ever seen play football because he had so much talent, but it wasn't harnessed. I don't know if this is for real or not, but over 13 games, he's not turning the ball over. And since I said he was terrible, I've never seen a quarterback go from inaccurate to more accurate that quickly and with that gap of talent.
But for this year, it's kind of gone the other way at times. He hasn't been as consistent. That's all. I think that's all we're saying. The last 2 games, Dan, his completion, or 2 of the 4 games he's played, completion percentage has been in the 50s. One of those games, low 50s.
Ross Tucker says this is the greatest athlete to ever play the position. That's why Mike Ryan is bringing up Cam Newton. So you tell me, Mike, what is Josh Allen?
I think he's Cam Newton, who I would throw in as best athlete to ever play the position. Michael Vick too, but Cam Newton had a power dynamic that Cam Newton didn't necessarily have. Remember, Cam Newton was amazing. Cam Newton was an MVP. So I don't think it's an insult to Josh Allen to just stop the comparisons at Cam Newton. We don't have to go to John Elway just yet. John Elway was, come on, man. There's John Elway.
Greatest
Relax.
ever, maybe. Yeah.
Not even Cam Newton was John Elway.
If you agree or think that the sample we've gotten so far is replicable, if you believe things that I haven't believed before, which is you cannot coach the reckless out of someone and you can't coach huge accuracy into someone when they're a terrible college passer. If you believe those two things are correctable, then you have to grant me that Josh Allen is going to be one of the greats. Do you not? If we're making him one of the great athletes ever, and you're telling me that he can keep growing through his prime and eliminate recklessness, judgment, and eliminate inaccuracy, what's real is what I'm asking you, Stugotz.
The problem for Josh Allen is he's playing at the same time. It's kind of like Michael Jordan when he was playing, Dan. And that's what Patrick Mahomes is, right? Where Michael Jordan, you had all these other great players in the NBA that never won titles simply because Jordan was hogging all the titles. So Barkley didn't win them, and Sean Kemp and Gary Payton didn't win them, and Karl Malone and John Stockton didn't win them. And you have this quarterback in this team out in Kansas City, and it seems like they're going to make it to the Super Bowl every single year. And that Patrick Mahomes, as good as Josh Allen has been, and as good as I think he's going to continue to be, I'm just not certain he's ever going to be Patrick Mahomes and going to be able to beat Patrick Mahomes, you know? And so that would be the only thing I would say that could possibly hold him back from being one of the all-time greats.
You just said a couple of weeks ago that something wasn't right about the Chiefs. And you said before that they shouldn't put Patrick Mahomes
I'm all
in the
over
game.
the place, yeah.
Shouldn't put Patrick Mahomes in the game to replace Alex Smith.
That was then. This is now.
But we're all conceding that Buffalo's a good team. And obviously, Kansas City at Arrowhead this year struggled against the Browns, lost to the Chargers. Is a nice test for them on Sunday night, so I'm excited about that. Some good quarterback matchups in the league. If Trey Lance gets a go, that should be a very exciting game. Very bummed that Gus Johnson is not calling a game this weekend because he should be all over Cardinals Niners if Trey Lance is a go.
But this is kind of what we were trying to tell you yesterday. Josh Allen could have a very nice career and never win a Super Bowl because you have Joe Burrow now in the AFC. Yeah,
playing Aaron Rodgers this week. Good
right.
Quarterback matchups.
I mean, you have Baker Mayfield and the Browns.
Did you see the news on
team.
Baker Mayfield that broke today?
See?
Officially a torn labrum.
Right. And then you have the guy that
that matters. I feel like that matters.
Let's stop for a second. Hold on. Let's stop for just a second on Baker Mayfield because we've been doing these rigorous analysis week to week on Baker Mayfield, and that does matter. I think for all the talk of Odell Beckham and all the issues with their offense and whether he's a second-tier quarterback or a top-tier quarterback, the fact that he always seems to be hurt
so it's not a height thing?
Probably affects some of his play.
I think the discomfort, I think it's what we were talking about with Jake Burns. Again, I think I was right when I said that he's
You always do, Mike.
Yeah,
we know.
Clearly I was right.
It's redundant. It's redundant for you to say I think I was right.
It pains me to just let the nation know one person was telling you that Baker Mayfield was hurt, and it was me.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Ryan exclusive.
Okay, there it is. Yes.
But we brought a guest on.
But
he said it was too small.
He agreed with me when he didn't touch on it. I was like, I brought it back. But don't you think he's feeling pressure a little bit early because of that shoulder injury, which is now a torn labrum, which will require surgery at some point, probably after the season, causes discomfort. If you ever talk to anybody with a torn labrum, I haven't, but I read tweets of people that say they have, and they say they can't even lift their arm.
It sounds awful.
I mean, you seem happy that he's hurt.
Is it not?
I'm happy that I have an explanation.
He's happy that he's right. He's happy that he's right.
Wait a second. I've known Baker Mayfield was hurt. I'm happy you guys get to know that Baker Mayfield's hurt. Not my problem. You don't trust me and you trust Ian Rappaport.
Does it kind of make you feel relieved because your expectations now can be dampened so that when your feelings are hurt later in the season, you have kind of lessened that already?
No, because he's got to overcome. Other quarterbacks have overcome this injury. He's got to rise above. And he'll have plenty of time. There'll be a bye in November. He has time to get healthy. He needs to be better.
Mike, can you just step back for a second, okay? I have said before that if any of us go running down this hallway and just fall on the floor, we won't get out of bed till Wednesday. It'll be bad. It won't feel good. You just said he's got to just get over a torn labrum.
Yeah.
Well, he's a young kid.
I know, but just torn labrum sounds awful to me. If I hear torn labrum, Stugotz, what do you? It's one of the most awful sounding injuries. I don't know exactly where my labrum is, what it is, but I don't want it torn. I think something being torn and playing with it, that's probably a bad thing. Now, to be chased by 270-pound men
while you're torquing your body,
while you're trying to throw, and I got to find Odell Beckham, but I can't see him because I'm blind and I'm small.
That was your only takeaway, and not that I was right. I'm very disappointed in you.
He's too small.
Torn labrum.
I think he's got discomfort, and it's causing some accuracy issues.
Okay, but isn't that a pretty good explanation? These
Yeah, well,
guys,
he also had cracked ribs last year, and it didn't matter to the national media. They were still dragging him, and guess what? He had to hang tough. He had to power through.
I just read that it's only partially torn. So, I mean.
this changes things.
Is it even really?
Jessica, good point.
Yep.
This changes
How is
everything. It changes
a tear
everything.
is a tear.
No, a partial
No, it's a
tear is
partial
not a
tear.
tear.
A partial
okay?
tear is a partial
A
tear. It's not a
partial
total
tear is
tear.
not a
It's
full
partial.
tear.
This
It's not
is a partial
partial.
tear.
Yeah.
It's partial.
This is a tear.
It's
Right.
partial.
A pear.
Partial tear? It's a tear.
One last thing on me being right about Baker Mayfield. Just one last thing. As you know, he's been inaccurate. You know what's not inaccurate? This guy. This guy right here. He's been wearing a shoulder harness, but he is not making excuses, Dan. He just said flatly his performance was terrible. He's not blaming that harness that he is wearing on the inaccuracy. He's blaming himself, and you'd love to see it. And yesterday, you know what he did? He took to Instagram, and he released a statement, and it was awesome. People seem to forget how I got here. Nothing was given, everything earned. Ups and downs. Came out stronger and better every time. God blessed me with the mental and physical strength to not only make it through adversity, but to also grow through those trials that nobody else could handle. I'll always be striving to get better, which I will continue to have that mindset. Winning is the priority for me. Always has been and always will be. That's why I was brought to Cleveland, to change that narrative and impact others along the way. That being said, we have a great group. I have their back and they have mine. I'm gonna battle for these guys every single week. On to the next challenge.
Through a partially torn labrum. It can't be easy.
And a harness.
I mean, it's only week 5 and you're putting out the 4-paragraph long Instagram story.
He
After a win.
He is
Yeah.
gritty, though. We can agree he's gritty.
To the
correct?
soundtrack of Glory behind you.
After a cover on the road. You know what they say about great teams?
They
Good
cover.
teams win.
Yeah.
Great teams cover.
Like Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl.
With that one possible exception.
Is that how they say it? That's how they say the whole thing?
Yeah.
Good teams win, great teams cover, except for that one possible exception of the one time Notre Dame covered, then they were not a good team, because the most important thing is always for Mike to be right.
That's the cliche going forward, I believe. That sounds right.
I think that's the way that we should do it.
Tad wordy, but it should be it.
I'm here for you, Mike, to become, I don't know how we do this with the Mike Ryan exclusives, but if you want to be sort of better at the Browns than Ian Rappaport, I think you need to claim that corner. I want to vigorously, there's no reason that our show can't have its own NFL insiders. You're learning as we break free here that we can cover sports just as well as ESPN, sending our correspondents into the field, whether it's Jessica at a Notre Dame game to tell us how great they are when they're clear and utter fraud, or you going to Cleveland and not having internet, or going to Kansas City and not having internet when reporting on the Browns.
Arrowhead Stadium. Can you believe Sprint was once headquartered in Kansas City? I couldn't. So I have no inside sources inside that Browns organization. I'm basically just an ego-soaked aggregator. Yeah, I'll do it.
I mean,
Yeah, no
there's
one's
a
better than
path.
me.
There's a path.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I can do that too. Yeah.
Ego-soaked aggregators. Let's go. Found it.
You're going to be
Blacksburg.
Meadowlark
Here I come.
NFL correspondents. Do you guys?
No, she's got the college football beat. Yeah.
Well,
I got the Brownies.
She's got the Steelers too, though. The one of the big storylines.
Unless they continue to suck, and then she'll pivot to the Bears.
Oh, we got Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh.
Oh, but it's not about Ben's still out here being quoted saying that I'm going to be here to the end, and these things don't end well. Like this is one of the many amazing things about Tom Brady. This is the end. We all know it's the end, but Ben has been fighting all his life, overcoming odds, and Ben doesn't think it's the end. Ben thinks that what you just read to us, lives in Ben's heart. That I'm going to battle with my guys and we're a team and play the symphony music. And he's just too old and he hasn't taken care of himself and his body has taken an unholy beating playing through God knows how many partially torn labrums.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I'm so like, I'm just used to this by now, the last 3 seasons, that I'm like, oh, maybe he'll play better now because he has a hurt hip.
Jessica, you started 11-0 last season. Like, what do you mean? This arrived very quickly. For me, I know that they were playing an offense last year that was restricted, but you're basically saying the end of Ben Roethlisberger, I thought he was statistically fine until the last 10 games. Jessica, I thought Peyton Manning was statistically fine until his last 10 games, and then he goes 9 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and he's done. And that's how quickly it happens. It's what's so amazing about Brady is for guys of that age, it happens over like 10 or 12 games where you all know, oh, he's done.
Yeah, Ben didn't he didn't play great in 2020. He was doing the modified offense, which was get rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds. And it worked for the first 11 games. They had some really close games, like the game they won against the Titans and the one against the Ravens midway through the season last year could have easily been losses. Like it wasn't
but
like
you were playing the best teams in the league. They were the best. They were the cream
weren't dominating every game.
No, but you were the cream of the conference. You were 11-0, and Ben Roethlisberger was statistically fine. They were hiding him some, and now the entire league is doing these two-second throws, and he looks old because Patrick Mahomes is making all of those throws a million times better and better than anyone in the league in 2.5 seconds. Stugotz, one of the things that I find fascinating about quarterback play and football's growth is that these 2.5 second passes, because the aliens are coming off the edge at you, it's basically all you got to do is on your first read, know that your first read of the scheme is open because his hips have moved a certain way, and you can just tell looking at him, oh, that corner's not going to be able to get to the spot. I'm going to throw it 9 yards downfield. All of that is happening so fast and so precisely that it makes sense that now Mahomes is better at that than everyone too, because he's better at all the stuff than everyone is. But Ben, that's where Ben gets eaten. In survival of the fittest, that right there is where the dinosaur Ben Roethlisberger dies.
I think you can like argue about his arm strength now all you want. Like he has a surgically repaired elbow. So yeah, he doesn't have the same arm strength. But what has hampered him the last 2 seasons is that he's scared to hold on to the ball because he's going to get hit. And he knows he doesn't have as many hits left in him. Like he's getting rid of the ball so he doesn't get clobbered by, Myles Garrett.
But he's never played like that, Jessica.
I know. That's the problem, though.
Guys like, well, not necessarily Myles Garrett, but pass rushers used to bounce off of Big Ben.
Yes.
He was like the hardest guy in the league to sack.
But
that's the thing that's missing.
Mike, but look at what you just did with the Mayfield thing. Ben has been playing with the symphony behind him. I'm going to grit my way through everything. And here's Baker Mayfield starting down this same path saying, I'm playing with a partially torn labrum.
Well, he didn't say it. We had to dig and drag it out of him because that's a natural born leader Baker Mayfield is. He doesn't make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Others make it for him.
Roethlisberger just got chewed up by the machine.
All right. Well, Roethlisberger also gave a quote, Dan. He also looked at himself in the mirror. I have it for you if you'd like.
Oh, let's do that, please. Yes, there were 2 mirror looks. Oh, no.
I think it's going to test us all. We all need to look in the mirror and figure out what we want the path to be.
What's with our music library? I'm very frustrated.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
I'm very
Little
frustrated.
sound from Big Ben. I mean,
Stugotz, Mike and I have been talking all week. I want to bring the club back. I want the week to end with the club. And we've got some really good Miami musicians who are trying to do a recreation of Debbie Deb so that we can have the licensing, because I don't know how much Debbie Deb costs. I've wanted to pay to just get Debbie Deb in here to perform it for us and see what we can sign up so we can just have this song.
that won't cost a lot.
And not have any more music library. We've got a big music library, right? We can go to 100,000 songs or something like that, but it doesn't feel the same to not have the club. But it also doesn't feel the same to have some diluted version of the club. I want to put it to the audience on whether or not they want to hear a remake of Debbie Deb's Lookout Weekend.
As your personal attorney in this specific instance, stop saying how you're copying Debbie Deb's Lookout Weekend. Number one.
That's good advice.
Can you just bleep that all out to help me out there? Because we're just trying to get to Lookout Weekend because people want the club back, and we can't do it without the rights to the music.
She's 55. She's from North Miami. I mean, perhaps we should explore that. I mean, what is Debbie Deb doing?
Perhaps. Well, no, I think she's doing some of those 80s tours. Are they? Those are all. Man, somebody explain this to me. I think this month Scott Stapp is coming to live. I don't even understand what's happening.
Yeah, he's
there.
playing the pool. They've made fun decisions with their pool.
So Creed, the front man for Creed is just doing the live pool, the Fontainebleau pool. And it's tell me more, Mike. I think people might be interested.
Well, there's
in this.
a lot of people, obviously, because it says live, think it's like live on Sunday, and how does Scott Stapp match that? But they hire a bunch of like weird acts to play specific to the pool. That's why you get Scott Stapp.
That's pretty Vegas, and I don't suppose that'll grow with the gambling money coming to Florida.
Oh, plenty. You saw, I think Air Supply is playing Magic City Casino. I'm in on that.
Oh my God.
When?
That is awesome.
Did Whitty and I ever tell you about the time that we saw Smash Mouth and it turned into a riot?
Oh my God. An all-time anecdote.
Yeah, but now Whitty's a part of the team, so he could actually speak for it. My wife, Whitty, and I went to Magic City Casino to see Fastball.
I love that place, Mike. I love how out of the 80s, dirty, awful, wonderful.
I got my ticket at an actual box office.
Yeah.
You should
I
try
went
these
to the box
Seminole.
office.
You should try these Seminole Coconut Creek on for size. I mean, wow.
I
didn't find it sad though. You find it sad? I find it like just from another time wonderful. Like, yes, it's obviously the smoke and the old people at the slots. That's not great. Yeah. And the venue outside is small podunk, 3,000, 4,000 people, not very many people.
I used to go there when it was Flagler Dog Track, and it was a WWE blast area, which is where a large group of people would watch one screen of a pay-per-view. I saw Edge defeat John Cena in the Elimination Chamber after he cashed in the very first Money in the Bank at New Year's Revolution there. Scenes, Dan. Absolute scenes, as you can imagine. But we went there after it got rebranded to Magic City Casino, and they were doing it was Spin Doctors, Fastball, Smash Mouth. I'm forgetting another terrible band.
I think it was Uncle Cracker performed.
Uncle
this way.
Cracker. How could I forget you, Uncle Cracker? We went there, and it was all the cheesy nostalgia that you would imagine it would be. And the main headliner was Smash Mouth, who, by the way, T's and P's over to the front person. Smash Mouth played a couple of gigs and had a different singer and didn't really address why. And it was a whole big mystery, but apparently a heart condition. So we got down to the bottom of the case.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. So we go see Smash Mouth. We don't necessarily hear Smash Mouth. We heard one song of Smash Mouth. And then the singer Smash Mouth belts through two songs with his microphone off. The entire crowd's like, we can't hear you. And
he's like jamming out. He's
rocking out.
In his mind, he is crushing it right now.
It's 1998 all over again. Like, he is top of the chart.
He can hear himself. He can hear himself in his earpieces. He's got like double earpieces on. And so the band can hear themselves, but no one in the crowd would all just stare at him going, what's happening?
No, I know Mike's sense of humor here, though, but he also is a snob about music. At what point are you laughing, Mike? Because the entire crowd is
I
saying...
was laughing the entire time. And while I can be a snob about music, I love so many guilty pleasures, and Smash Mouth reminds me of a time, and I was having a hell of a time, but I thought I wanted to see Smash Mouth perform. And this was way better because he goes through an entire song, 3.5 minute eternity of belting one out, and you can't hear him. And no one on the stage knows that this is the case. So surely someone would get to them during the break from one song to the next.
Well, how is the crowd not? How is the crowd response not obvious?
The crowd is just like
we don't hear you. And
they keep pointing to their ears, but
Yeah.
I guess he's looking at them and they're motioning to give us more. Like instead of pointing to their ears, he thinks he's doing a great job.
No, but those are two very things. Rocking out to music and pointing to your head, while mouthing, we can't hear you.
I always try to help.
He thought they were singing?
Yeah,
We
they start
can't hear
another
you.
song. And then in the middle they realize, oh, sorry, technical difficulties. It didn't seem like there was a solution, so Smash Mouth leaves the stage for a little bit. And, doesn't really seem hopeful that they're going to fix this problem because they were working on it for a while, Chris.
Yeah.
And then Smash Mouth goes to the stage and he kind of says, everybody huddle up. So everyone goes closer to the stage.
Yeah, the venue probably sat like 10,000 people, but there was like 3,100 there. So there's a bunch of empty seats. Like, just don't sit where you were assigned. Just come closer to the stage. I guess then we'll be able to hear him, I suppose.
Because you'll just hear my voice.
He's
You'll
like-
just hear the
so
mics don't work.
Just shout, I'm a believer at me.
Yeah. So he actually says, don't worry, we wanted to have a good time, but if everyone gets closer, we can power through a couple songs. Yeah, we'll play All-Star and the song from Shrek, don't worry. Which is I'm a believer. He says it just like the song from Shrek. And everyone is just yelling, play all. I felt so bad because from the second Smash Mouth went onto the stage, they're like, play All-Star. And he's like, we hear you. We will play All-Star. So
First, we have to play Walking on the Sun.
yeah, which I was like, yes. Because I'm not like these posers. I'm never walking on the sun. So he invites everybody onto the stage. Witty, my wife and I, we were careful.
Yeah.
We're not going to hop on the stage at Magic City Casino. Number one, I'm not sure the structural integrity of the thing.
Of the casino, not the
Yeah.
stage.
The fair's concern, yes.
And you know how they say, if a bunch of people walk off a hill, would you follow them? This was one of those times that I'm like, I'll only follow Smash Mouth so far. To the front of the stage, not on the stage, which turned out to be a good decision.
Well, because of the
No, Dan.
foreshadowed riot?
What happened was basically Woodstock 99. Number one, Walking on the Sun, absolutely banged.
Yes.
They sure as shit played the song from Shrek. And then All-Star. Dan, bodies everywhere, appendages everywhere. All of a sudden, hijinks in a corner. I'm not really sure what I see out the corner of my eye. Security, bum rushing individuals because after they tore the house down with the song from Shrek, security said, we can't have all these people on the stage.
Yeah.
And rather, and this was the guy from Smash Mouth doing his best, Fred Durst, inciting a riot, he didn't calm it down. I mean, he invited everybody up there. He didn't run this past Magic City Casino. So Magic City Casino starts taking business into their own hands.
Oh, my
Guy
God.
got arrested.
I saw a guy get arrested and thrown up against the hood of a car, like an old 80s cop show.
Really?
Like it was scary
It's
there
like
for
the
a
Rolling
while.
Stones at Altamont. What
Yeah.
the hell?
Yeah, the Hell's Angels had their way, apparently. And I was just thinking about the guy that I saw get his face slammed into the hood of a car and thrown into the back of a vehicle, having to tell other prisoners what he's in for.
That's not going to go over well.
I rushed the stage at Smash Mouth.
And you know what the prisoners would probably turn to him and say? Did they play All-Star? You bet your ass they did.
At one point during the technical difficulties, a chant went through the stadium. All-Star, All-Star,
Yes, of course.
All-Star,
What a
All-Star.
magical day for you guys.
It was incredible.
When is Air Supply? I mean,
I got to get out there. Put it on the poll at Batard Show. Is it ever a good thing? Is it ever a good thing when Magic City Casino takes matters into its own hands?
I actually have the events calendar up here. A big back-to-back weekend at Magic City Casino. It's Air Supply on the 13th of November, and then Grand Funk Railroad the following weekend. And Mike, I know you like them.
Mike, we could fill that place. We could have a mosque over there. We could fill Magic City Casino. We could bring them the nation to come.
We could. For Air Supply, I'd consider it, but they haven't done Rock 2K since. It's been several years, and I feel like some of the trauma has subsided, and we're just remembering the good times, like when Fastball played the way.
Why don't we make Magic City Casino matter the way we once made Dania Highlight matter? Why don't we support?
Well, because if you're good at something, Dan, you never do it for free.
Well, why would we have to do it for free? We have to do it for free, or Magic City Casino is going to take matters into its own hands?
I also believe, because of our life partners at DraftKings, there might be an exclusivity deal here. So
let's get our sugar daddy to flirt with Magic City Casino to see if we could throw some parties to celebrate Smash Mouth.
What a random request. I just imagine this going up the ladder at DraftKings. Hey, Levitar Show wants to do something with Smash Mouth and Air Supply. What?
But I want to do
Grand Funk Railroad.
We should do something with Smash Mouth today with the fake singer. Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've seen the fake singer just looks like he's wearing a costume of the real singer.
No.
Yeah.
Come on, get out of here.
No.
Yeah, like I don't know if they thought that they could get away with it.
Were people fooled? Were people in the crowd fooled by the Smash Mouth?
Smash Mouth
imposter?
does this occasionally where they play these infamous. I think one time they were thrown, like a bunch of fans just started throwing bread at them at one show at a racetrack in Arizona. I'm gonna have to Google this.
Throwing bread at them.
I'm looking at their Twitter account right now, and someone tweeted at them on October 4th and said, "Hey, Smash Mouth, did y'all replace your singer and not say anything?" And at Smash Mouth replied and said, "Nope."
Okay, wait. We need to get to the bottom of this. We need to get investigative reporters. Mike, you're alleging that Smash Mouth is out here filling racetracks with 3,000 people with a guy wearing a costume of the guy who used to sing All Star?
Dateline, Fort Collins, Colorado. Smash Mouth's lead vocalist Steve Harwell did not take kindly to pieces of bread being thrown at him Sunday night during the finale of Taste of Fort Collins.
I'm reading a Page 6 story about the lead singer replacement, and the second paragraph says, Harwell's rep, Steve Harwell is his name, confirmed to TMZ Tuesday that the all-star crooner, 54, is on hiatus to deal with a cardiomyopathy. I feel like crooner is a very lofty title for the lead singer of Smash Mouth.
Harwell caused quite a stir during the band's performance, first yelling profanities at the crowd, then being subdued by a security guard, and finally walking off the stage ahead of the encore because, they have to play All-Star. He lost his temper at concert attendees when they started throwing slices of bread in the air. A few pieces reportedly landed on the stage. Loaves of bread were being given away for free at the Taste of Fort Collins and their vendor booths. The entire incident lasted about 3 minutes.
I need more information on this guy wearing a costume of...
He's just slightly grayer than Steve Harwell.
I need to hear more. I need to report this. I need to get our investigative team on it. Are they doing imposter work? Are they not? The funny part isn't just that they're doing it. Are they trying to trick people because you're not going to know because it's been 20 years and you don't know what this guy looks like anymore?
I just read that Smash Mouth got in some trouble last summer for performing at the Sturgis motorcycle rally during COVID. Do you think they played I'm a Believer there?
I think that Smash Mouth was like one of the first music acts who went contrary to all things pandemic because we got to make our money out here with our lead singer in a costume of the guy who used to be our lead singer. I think Smash Mouth was like first to the music money. We want our freedom, the right to be Smash Mouth and wear disguises. Or you're telling me that their answer was a no. They were asked
initially they tried to deny, but
so good.
That was 2 days ago. It was October 4th. It's the
so
7th.
They weren't accounting for journalism
3
being done
days.
here. They didn't account for follow-ups.
From TMZ, the band's current singer is someone that the band knows and was substituting for a few shows, but it's not a permanent move. The good news, Steve feels good now and will be back beginning Thursday at the Jackson, Mississippi State Fair.
They just say it's an unidentified stand-in. I mean,
That's great.
But were they
the
telling
stand-in
people?
looks like divorced Guy Fieri.
it's a Conseco situation.
It is a Conseco situation where he's supposed to go to a boxing match and he sends Ozzy, and they're identical twins, but Ozzy has a couple of tattoos. You're telling me, I need some reporting on this. You guys believe the new lead singer was chosen as a guy who looks like the old lead singer and was made to look like the old lead singer.
This is exactly my fear when we come out with a fake Debbie Deb song. I just don't want to look like, I don't want to be a reasonable facsimile. I want to be better than the original thing. And Divorced Guy Fieri is not Steve Harwell.
A big giant sports book, Stugotz. We're still making those. It's physically a big book. It is a book about big, meaty subject matter. Seth Wickersham is a journalist who has done very good work in football and elsewhere, but really somehow, and I don't know how he did this, got in with this team that nobody gets in with from certain angles, even though he didn't have access to the key players, because it's not like Brady, Belichick want to give him anything, or Kraft for that matter.
No one has taken more deep dives into the Patriots
That's
organization than Seth. Nobody.
It's Better to Be Feared is the book, the New England Patriots and the world they made, and they're a dynasty. And I always marveled. I thought somebody at some point was going to tell this story, Seth, because I'm like, how in America's most popular sport can they do these things and we don't see the inner workings of the belly and the celebrity machine? So thank you for joining us. And start here. How'd you get in there? Tell me where the seeds of the book started.
Man, Dan, it was probably back when you and I were colleagues at ESPN Magazine. And in November of 2001, our old boss, Gary Honig, sent me to Foxborough to go write about this guy who had just replaced Drew Bledsoe temporarily, it seemed, as the starter, Tom Brady. And we both graduated from college the same year. We were both about the same age. And I remember that first meeting with him over at the old Foxborough Stadium. That thing was like a high school field. And he's wearing like gray sweatpants. He's got a backpack that has beer in it because he lost a bet on the Michigan State game and owed his teammates some payout. And we just started talking. And I think that even though Brady, Belichick, and Kraft didn't participate explicitly for the book, I felt like that because I had those moments, that was the first of many over the course of years that I could draw upon and kind of write about how these guys accomplished this greatness, how celebrity figured out into it, what the costs of it were. I felt like I could do that well, in addition to just sort of like, the old stuff that we all do, just usual reporting that you try to do for stories.
What do you regard as the juicy stuff? Obviously, a book attempts, and you're a journalist. So you're trying to tell the whole story, and people are going to grab and aggregate. And I think the Patriots have denied everything, right? This big emotional game, Brady went out of his way afterward to say nothing is true. Nothing is true. Nobody knows anything about us. So you're here to say what to that?
Well, Brady, there was an anecdote that came out. And I think there's a lot of the juicy stuff, but I can go as little as long or as you want on any of these. But there was an anecdote that came out that on when Tom Brady in March of 2020 was saying goodbye to the Patriots, he said goodbye to Robert Kraft in person, and then he and Bill Belichick talked over the phone. And he later told one of his best friends that night that he thought it was telling of where the state of their relationship was, that they ended up doing it over the phone. Now, it never really had anything to do with Bill. Bill denied that there was anything nefarious in charge of it, but Brady actually didn't deny that he said that. I think that he instead focused on the phone call, and it was a great phone call. I mean, Belichick called him the greatest player that the league had ever seen. But, I've been through this a lot with the Patriots over the years. Sometimes you write stories that flatter them. Sometimes you write stories that anger them, and they come out and deny things, and then things end up coming out true as people tell their accounts years later.
What's your response to Belichick saying that this book sounds a lot like second, third, fourth hand comments from people?
Well, most of the interviews for the book were people on the record, and it's well detailed. I think I have 30 pages of footnotes at the back of the book. And so there are some people who are anonymous sources, but those are very few. Most people are on the record in the book, and that includes Brady, Belichick, and Kraft, during various times when I met with them over the years. If there's a journalism lesson in there, it's never throw away a notebook.
Let's make this easy for the audience, Seth. You said I can go as long or as little as you want on these, so let's do it. Top 5 juiciest things in Seth Wickersham's book. We're going to go from 5 to 1 since you have, again, this is an exhaustive look. It's thoroughly reported. As he said, it's across 2 decades of the man's work, and he does very good work. And no one, right? This is correct to say, Seth, and I don't mean to flatter you here too much, but no one has written more thoroughly about this team and its inner workings than you have, correct?
Thanks, man. No, look, I think that there are some things that got out, some newsier things, and one of them is Robert Kraft in the fall of 2018. He's at a conference in Aspen, and he says it's one of these kind of business conferences, rich guy conferences, and he says, I really hate leaving conferences like this. You meet with some of the most brilliant minds, and I got to go to Detroit to be with the biggest fucking asshole of my life, my head coach. And obviously that's a funny quote, but within the context of Robert Kraft, I think with Kraft, he'll probably get into the Hall of Fame for this. And that's he did an amazing job of kind of managing these egos for so long. And that doesn't mean that it didn't come with, occasional managerial challenges like that. But, that was kind of a funny moment. There's a moment where Roger Goodell is starting to investigate Spygate, and he has to try to catch himself up to speed on 7 years of cheating in a matter of days. And he calls around to various head coaches and GMs, and they all just pile on Belichick. They just say, it's like the height of their piousness. You got to punish this guy. He's a cheater or whatever. And he calls Mike Shanahan, who was the coach of the Broncos at the time. And Mike Shanahan, in a glimpse of rare honesty and mindset into how the best coaches think, expressed to Goodell that he was mad that he didn't think of the cheating methods himself. And if he had, he would have done it in a New York minute. And so I thought that was really kind of a funny quote and revealing. Obviously, Spygate's like a big part of the book. There was a near fist fight between Eric Mangini and Bill Belichick over it that I talk about. But those are a couple of the things that got a little bit of attention last week.
Why does Bob Kraft think that Bill Belichick is an idiot who's the biggest asshole compared to the rich people he was meeting with?
You've seen Bill Belichick, right? No, Bill's a tough guy to manage and to be around sometimes. I think that it's one of the things that's kind of made him so brilliant. And one of the things that I get into in the book is just what it's like to work for him. These days that start at 4:30 in the morning and end at 11:30 at night. And these meetings that last forever where he's checking for any loose screw with the various coaches. And, there's no end in sight. And he takes his shoes off and he puts his stinky feet up on the table. And these things just go late at night. And I think that with Robert Kraft, obviously, there was times that he felt like that Belichick didn't give him the respect that he deserved. I think that during the early part of the run, Kraft felt that Belichick would kiss his ass a decent amount. And then once they started winning a lot of Super Bowls and it was clear that Belichick was going to be a Hall of Famer, that ended. And there was one moment I talk about where Kraft is calling Nick Caserio, who at the time was Belichick's top personnel executive, trying to find out information about the team because Belichick won't tell Kraft. And Nick Caserio tells Kraft, I don't know, because Belichick hadn't told him certain things either.
Seth, of the three, who has the biggest ego? Bill, Tom, Kraft?
Oh, man, that is a hard question. I think I would have to go with, it's just a tie because their ego manifests themselves in different ways. I think that Kraft wants to be loved a little bit more than Brady and Bill do. And I think with Brady and Bill, they have egos because they want to be known as the best at what they do and have those sort of outside goals to be the best. But they also are self-aware enough to know that to do that, they have to put in the work and the grind and think outside of the box in ways that people who just have huge egos and never really, work that hard think about.
Seth, you said that Mangini and Belichick almost got in a fight. If they had gotten in that fight, who would win that fight?
And what did it look like? What was the fight about? And what did it look like before it had to be won?
All right. So Eric and Belichick, they used to be so close. They were as close as you could possibly get among football relationships. And Eric Mangini left the Patriots to go to the Jets. That was a problem in their relationship. It really started to deteriorate. Then Spygate happens with the Jets, and it was just destroyed. And so fast forward 6 months, they're at the league meetings, and there was a head coach dinner. And afterwards, everyone's kind of mingling around, and Julie Mangini, Eric's wife, bumps into Belichick. And Julie Mangini is a very friendly person, and she says hi and kind of tries to ease some of this tension that's come up. I mean, Bill Belichick spoke at her wedding. He read a poem at her wedding, and Bill kind of blows her off, and she was upset about it. So she goes to tell Eric. Eric finds out, and he just hits the roof, and he comes across the room, and he yells, "Hey, Bill, fuck you." And he's about to take a cut at him, but two coaches hold him back. And so I do think that if those coaches hadn't held him back, I think that Eric had the upper hand on that one.
I looked in the shipping container, and all eyebrows raised at one time at just one sentence in the middle of your story.
Roses are red, violets are blue. You're in love.
And fuck you.
Read a poem?
He read a poem. That was good, though. I was not anticipating that. Big props to you guys for having that one ready.
Roses are red.
That's some quick thinking.
Violets are fancy. Not asking any more of your goddamn questions. We're on to Cincinnati.
Did you just try to
Fancy
rhyme
Cincinnati
in Cincinnati?
Isn't Mangini's wife named Nancy? That would have been an easy one.
You came close, Mike.
It works.
It would make sense, though, that Bob Kraft would feel left out because the other two guys don't need any love. They get plenty. Everyone's already talking about them always as the best.
That is true.
So Bob Kraft plays what role in all of this? What are the most overt examples of, hey, I get credit for this? Why do you guys get all the credit for this?
I'll give you one. So obviously he's great at just keeping this thing together as long as it could and kind of managing these egos. And, he had told Tom Brady that, Brady would have some say. He had promised him that if Bill ever wanted to move on from him, he would have some say on where he went. And, things really got tough in New England after the Falcons Super Bowl. Brady and Bill had won their fifth. And I think that Tom started to venture into endeavors that was beyond just being the Patriots quarterback. He released his book, The TB12 Method. He did the Tom versus Time documentary. And then in the middle of it, you have Belichick deeply invested in Jimmy Garoppolo, his backup. Belichick curtailing the access of Alex Guerrero, Tom Brady's business partner, around the building because it was starting to cause tension within the team and the training staff. And so things got to be problematic there. And that offseason, I wrote a story about it, and the Patriots released a statement saying that they were united and there was no problems. And later on, Brady ended up skipping that entire offseason program. And Kraft really worked hard to try to get Brady and Bill back on the same page. He held a meeting with the two of them. It didn't quite resolve itself, but finally Brady kind of wanted out of his contract. He wasn't sure he wanted to return to New England. And Kraft initially said no. Then he later ended up going back the next day and saying that he would let him out if he wanted. But at that point, I think that Brady had decided he wanted to return to New England. And so things ended up working themselves out. But that's an example of Kraft and kind of how he's able to navigate these guys.
Seth, do you blame either of them for not believing a guy who says he wants to play quarterback and can play at this level until the age of 45? Because who would believe that? I mean, honestly.
You can't blame them, but man, I mean, and that was kind of the through line beginning with that 2017 offseason is that Brady wanted a contract that would take him till he played till he was 45. I mean, he stated that as his goal. And even though Belichick kind of took the heat for this departure, this divorce, it was really an organizational decision. Like, down in Miami when the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and the Niners was down there, Kraft told some other owners, look, we want Brady, but maybe not until he's 45 years old. And when you look back on it, even though Brady was pushing the limits of what was possible, you think, the two guys who should have known better than anybody else in this world than to underestimate Tom Brady ended up doing just that.
Can you take us through how that happens, though, Tom? Because the Krafts took what I thought was the fairly extraordinary gesture of putting their name on Tom Brady will have the ending here that he wants. I didn't think that they would put their name on that unless that's what was going to be so. What happened in between there?
Well, one could say they probably did do that in the sense that so August of 2019, Brady and Belichick won their sixth Super Bowl. they're in a contract negotiation into training camp, and Brady still is not getting a contract that's guaranteed to take him through age 45. And at one point, he considers leaving training camp in protest. He was so frustrated at how things were going. And the negotiation ended with him getting a raise and essentially a one-year deal, and the Krafts granted him a chance to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. And so I think that was their example of kind of letting him have some say over his departure. He signs that deal, and then 48 hours later, he and Gisele Bündchen put their house in Brookline on the market. And as he's later said publicly, he knew that that was his last year in New England right then.
That's leadership, uncomfortable though it may be, and wrong-headed though it may be, because the way that they got Tom Brady returning to fanfare, and they didn't get what Aaron Rodgers had this offseason and what Ben Roethlisberger is in the middle of now, is because the organization leaned on the dude, did the foolhardy thing, but that is how you end it, Seth. Like you just described, nobody gets the ending Brady got, and the Patriot way at the end is the organization caving in on his neck and disrespecting him at every turn, and everyone applauding and us all seeing, oh, wait, they undervalued him. The geniuses got it wrong. The guy most responsible for doing what he did there just did it somewhere else, took it all with him because you guys thought he couldn't play until he was 45.
And Seth is saying those two guys should have known. If any two guys should have known he could play till he's 45, it should have been them.
Seth, how does Tom Brady, man, he comes from such authority and such respect. How does he not hit these people with more bleep you other than just beating them?
Well, that's kind of always been the way that he's done it, right? You've seen some things come out from his camp. His dad's made some mild but noteworthy kind of tweaks on Belichick, and Alex Guerrero came out and said things. But I think that Brady, as angry as he's gotten over the years, and how frustrated he was that they kind of opened the door for him in New England to walk out, and he walked out with them. He ended up winning in the end. I mean, can you imagine what it was like for Robert Kraft last week to watch Tom Brady on your field in that jersey, wondering like, how did we let this happen?
I wish Brady had held out. Who did he serve by not holding out? How great. He could have made the same mess that Aaron Rodgers did, Stugotz, he walks out for a practice.
Yes.
And I think, Seth, you correct me if I'm wrong, he walks out for a practice on that organization, and they have to figure out a way to cave, and they can't be as cold as they are with all these other guys that they always trade a year before they're actually done.
Yeah, but I also think that Brady he has enough self-awareness to know that, like, look, if they don't want me, fine, peace out. And I think that's kind of how he was, where he's like, okay, I'm going to do this contract, then I'm going to go somewhere else. And I think that when he went somewhere else, he wanted to go to a place that valued him as an astute football mind in ways that he felt like he couldn't quite accomplish in New England. Like at the Super Bowl that was down in Miami, he was talking to Joe Montana, and he says, they ask for my advice, I give it, and then they ignore me. And when he was having his first conversation with Bruce Arians about joining the Bucs, Bruce Arians told him, hey, look, I always give my quarterbacks a lot of leniency over what we do. And plus, you're Tom Brady. Imagine like how that must have felt to hear those words for the first time in God knows how long. You're Tom Brady. And you look at him in Tampa, he's essentially an executive in addition to just being the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. Alex Guerrero, as we mentioned, he was banned from part of the Patriots building by Bill Belichick. He has an office in Tampa, and he got a Super Bowl ring.
But Seth, you say imagine the feeling for Bob Kraft watching Tom Brady go on that field, his field, and beating the Patriots and Bill Belichick. Forget about that. Imagine being Bob Kraft and seeing Tom Brady in a Bucs uniform lifting the Vince Lombardi trophy. Like, they look like fools here, both of them.
Yeah, after your head coach had told him that he was close to the end.
Right.
Guerrero's got an office at the Bucs facility. Guerrero, what happened? How much of the breakup is right there, that they weren't supporting his voodoos and his medicines that may or may not have been human growth hormone that allowed him to age in a way that was more defiant than by 6 years than any quarterback before him?
Only Brady can answer that, but I'm sure it didn't help. I mean, they really, when he banned Alex Guerrero from the building, it was front page news in Boston. And, that was it was not only, Belichick asserting his authority, but it was also a reminder that whatever Tom Brady, this business that he was building, had nothing to do with the Patriots. And Belichick would go out of his way to make resoundingly clear that Alex Guerrero was not an employee of the Patriots. Instead, he was an outside consultant.
Seth, how hurt is Tom? Seriously. Now, you're saying, like, the things you're talking about don't seem human, to just be like, you didn't want me? Okay, I'll just go along my way because I'm so confident I can do this anywhere else, even though I'm 44 years old. I'm smarter and better. I'll defy the aging process. Ha ha! You watch. I'm going to win the championship, become the only guy ever in the home city to win a championship. I'll show you. It's all absurd. Every bit of what you're talking about here is absurd. You'd have to be a robot not to be hurt by Kraft. If you're a father figure guy and these guys helped raise you in the business, for them to tell you, no, you're done when you don't think you are, like, how could he not be hurt by that?
I'm sure that he was. I mean, one thing with Tom, though, is that, like, he's very careful about what he says. And often the people close to him end up doing all of his talking for him. But yeah, I mean, I think that Tom tries to say, well, it was extreme circumstance. Nobody had played at this level till I was age 45. But like I said, these guys should have known what he was capable of.
Seth, in the end, it seems like Tom Brady just wanted to be treated like an adult.
No,
Is that fair?
I'll tell you what it is he wants the Britney Spears consortium to be disbanded is what he wants. Like, he's in a cult and you're saying he wants to be an adult. Just listen to me. I'm pretty powerful and valuable. Will you quit treating me like I'm 14 years old?
Yeah, and Alex Guerrero came out and he said that. He was like, a couple of weeks ago, he told the Boston Herald that, Bill didn't evolve enough to account for what Tom Brady had become. And while I'm not sure that's totally fair to Bill, I mean, everybody knows that Tom Brady was not just another Patriot. Look, he wanted something different. After they had made their decision and they had made their evaluation, he wanted something different. And he kind of went from Harvard Law to Florida State.
Conservatorship is what I meant to say there, not consortium.
I didn't notice.
I love the dig at FSU, though.
Is that not what we're looking at here? Why is it? You've seen this with Aaron Rodgers, Seth. Why can't you just give Tom Brady an alliance? Why can't you just give him some power?
Ego.
But he's Tom Brady.
I know, and he's Bill
Belichick.
Belichick.
And that's what Bruce Arians was saying. And that's why I found this entire thing, this standoff with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, just so ridiculous. Like, look, I understand if you can't take your second-year quarterback and let him in on personnel decisions. But if you're the Packers, or even if you're the Patriots, at the end with Brady, all you're going to be judged on, your entire legacy, is how many championships did you win when you had an all-time player. You have to make different rules for those guys. And even with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, people are like, oh, what if he picks this receiver and this receiver's horrible? Well, so what? The best GMs are wrong at least 50% of the time on every player, and that's their only job. And so, like, I do think that when you have someone like Brady and Aaron Rodgers and they're asking for a little bit more input on things that affect their careers and their performance and their jobs, I think it's really numbskull to not do that. I think it's just kind of, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
But Kraft has to be questioning Belichick at this point. They left the Super Bowl on the table already.
Well, I think that Belichick has earned the right to be able to walk away whenever he wants, but look at the reaction. Look at this offseason. I mean, they spent more money in guaranteed contracts for players than Robert Kraft initially spent for the entire Patriots franchise. I don't know when Bill Belichick's going to walk away, but it's clear that they are trying to compete now in a way that it would be, I don't know this for a fact, but it would be a little naive to think that it's not in reaction to what Tom Brady just showed that he's capable of without them.
What is the advice they were ignoring from him? Because, Seth, they did betray him at the end. He needed better skill guys.
Well, remember, he had Antonio Brown for a little bit, and then Antonio Brown got into his problems, and Robert Kraft made a decision that he couldn't be a Patriot anymore. And I think that Belichick and Brady wanted Antonio Brown to stay on the roster. All that said, I think it had to do with schematics. And if you look at like what happened last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were running a version of Bruce Arians' offense with Tom Brady for most of the year. And it even though they were winning games, they weren't the dominant team. And it was really the last month of the season where they really let Tom run the offense as he wanted to run it. And that's when they really took off. And if you look, Bill Belichick was right last week when he said he made an observation that the offense that Brady's running in Tampa is the same offense he's run his entire career.
Are you willing to say who's most wrong here in the breakup?
Well, I think it has to be Belichick, because I think that Kraft would have done anything to have Brady retire as a Patriot and stay on.
And what is the nature of that conflict? What can you tell us? Because that's hard to report right there. The feelings between Kraft and Belichick up there, where Kraft is leaving a meeting of rich people saying, I got to go deal with the asshole.
Well, I think that Kraft had to have been wondering, like, God, we think this guy doesn't have much left, and then he goes and wins the Super Bowl. What the F? But all that said, I think that one thing with Bill Belichick, I know that he's been under fire the past couple of years for his drafts or whatever. And this is someone who has a lot of pride in what he does. And he has always wanted to walk away from the Patriots with them set up well and fixed up well at quarterback. And one of the hardest things, the hardest thing to do in pro football, if not pro sports, is to pick a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. And obviously he won the lottery with Tom Brady. He developed the hell out of him, but he won the lottery. He developed a Super Bowl caliber replacement in Jimmy Garoppolo and had to ship him. And then, he drafts Mac Jones. And I think that whenever Bill walks away, he wants the team set up long-term at quarterback. And it looks like, through at least a month, that he's got a good player there to try to develop. And we'll just see what happens the rest of the year.
Last question. We've got to get out of here. Do you know what happened with Garoppolo? What are the best reported details?
In terms of why he was banned in 2017?
Yeah, not banned, but traded. What happened with Garoppolo there? And
Garoppolo. I'm sorry. I thought you said Guerrero. Sorry about that. Well, look, Belichick was deeply invested in Jimmy Garoppolo, and Tom wouldn't let him have the field. Tom was just playing well. Bill turned down offers in the offseason. And then finally, as the trading deadline is nearing, he knows that Robert Kraft is loyal to Tom Brady and has said publicly and privately that Brady can walk away on his terms. Bill was running out of options. And so he calls Kyle Shanahan out in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan thought he was calling because Shanahan's team had gotten killed the previous day, and he thought he was offering a pick-me-up, but instead he was offering Garoppolo straight up for a second-round pick.
It's a pick-me-up, though.
Yes, that is a pick-me-up. Thank you, Seth. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the book. The name of it is It's Better to Be Feared, The New England Patriots and the World They Made. If you want to see how football was dominated for the last 2 decades, the dynasty, you will not get a clearer glimpse than this one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Roy just handed me a story I had not seen, Stugotz. NBC News' Tom Winter is reporting that 18 former NBA players have been arrested and charged federally for defrauding the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan out of approximately $4 million. The players include, and these are some names you're going to know, Stugotz, Sebastian Telfair, Darius Miles, Ruben Patterson, Glenn Big Baby Davis, Jamario Moon, Tony Allen. There are a number of other names that you're going to recognize here as more fringe players.
The grind father.
Thank you, Stugotz.
You're welcome.
And we mentioned when Clinton Portis got hit on this recently or something similar, because these things come with jail terms. And this is the second Sebastian Telfair story that I've seen in the last couple of days, because the other one that he had going on is his wife and his mistress and his girlfriend were testifying, and his sister was allegedly caught plotting to kill his wife. And Sebastian Telfair is going to go to jail now here for a while because there was a weapons charge. And this was one of the most promising basketball players out of New York ever, correct?
Telfair there was Kenny Anderson, Stephon Marbury. I think maybe they all went to the same high school, or Bishop Malloy, and Sebastian Telfair. He was one of the greatest prospects to ever come out of New York City in terms of
basketball. People thought he was
Yes.
going to be the best point guard ever, or one of the best point guards ever. And now this story takes a turn that is painful. And one of the things, Stugotz, that makes an appearance all the time in sports, because some of these guys get to their dreams and then you just don't have the toolbox to manage your finances or people prey on you because now you're somebody who has a great deal of money. And then what do you do when your career ends and the pension's not enough? What do you do? Because Telfair had a nice career. He played in the league for plenty of time. He made a decent amount of money. He didn't live up to his expectations.
No, but he played for a while.
But I think that when you need to make great deals of money because you don't have as much and you've gotten used to a certain lifestyle, this is where some of this stuff makes an appearance. With scams, how do I make big money quickly? Was it Travis Henry, a Bills running back, who had a whole lot of kids, and next thing you know, he had a whole lot of child support payments, and next thing you know, he's being caught with a whole lot of drugs in the car, and I think he's probably still in jail on a major drug offense. Because what do you do, Stugotz? If you've worked all your life to get to the pros, you get to wealth. Very often you're getting to wealth from poverty, and it's worse. It's worse, Stugotz, to have tasted it and lost it than it is to have never had wealth at all.
Right. Just to give people an idea of Sebastian Telfair and what people thought of him. He was the number 2 prospect coming out of high school. He committed to Rick Pitino at Louisville, I believe, and then later said, nah, screw it. I'm going straight to the pros. Now, he played 11 years, and he made a lot of money. And to answer your question, I think it's easy for everyone to say, hey, what do you do in that spot? You've tasted it. You've made money. You don't have money. You're desperate. Your career's over. Your life has been kind of defined by the time you're 35, right? You lose your identity and all that stuff. And most people would say, hey, if you didn't save your money correctly, go to work. And I think that's easy to say from where we're sitting, but not so easy if you're actually in the middle of it, you know? So I don't know the answer to that question. It's certainly not breaking the law. That's not what you do, but these are really desperate, this is a desperate guy who needed money and did something that appears to be very desperate.
I'm sure a lot of people are getting nervous. Once that Clinton Portis story broke, you could see how this is something that could have been abused over years. There are probably guys right now wondering how far back this investigation will go.
Of course.
Clinton Portis, that one made me sad because he made such a ton of money at the disposable position. He was a part of a superstar trade in a different league. Champ Bailey for Clinton Portis. This is going to change the fortunes of both teams.
For those that aren't familiar with the story and the scam, and I don't know, obviously this is similar what's going on in the NBA. I don't know all the details of the NBA, but the details surrounding the Clinton Portis
It's a federal charge, arrested for defrauding the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan out of approximately $4 million.
Yeah, it says here that Williams, who is Terrence Williams, who was taken in the NBA draft by the Nets in 2009, allegedly orchestrated the years-long scheme and recruited other NBA health plan participants to assist by offering them fake invoices to support their allegedly false health plan claims. He's accused of receiving kickback payments totaling at least $23,000 in return for providing the alleged false documentation.
So it's very similar to the allegations toward Clinton Portis, who some of the allegations where they would put in for like hyperbaric chambers and recovery machines that they never actually bought, and they would just keep the cash for fake invoices.
Bummed me out because these people are going to jail. Stugotz. These people who responsible for times in our lives where they made a great deal of money, had a great deal of fame. Clinton Portis was fun, Stugotz. He would do press conferences wearing wigs. He'd let people into his life. I think he had a strip club in his house. I think that was one of his featured single things, living the life of the Washington superstar. And then to go from that to whatever it is that's happening that makes you turn to fraud so that you can make millions of dollars quickly. And now the turn is you lose your freedom. It's heartbreaking. I don't have a funny thing to say here. Like, I can wag my finger at these guys. How can you go broke? How can you be so dumb? How could you be an athletic cliche?
I think most people would do that. That's what they would say. Hey, how could you blow that opportunity, blow that money, and then on top of that, do this?
Understood. And I wouldn't blame you at all if that's where you arrive as people are struggling. And you hear me and you're like, what are you apologizing for these guys for? These are criminals. These are crimes. These are allegations. You don't do all of that. Yes, on all counts. You're right on everything. But also it breaks my heart for Clinton Portis to have lived that particular life and now is going to lose his freedom. Sebastian Telfair, it can be both, can it not? I can castigate the behavior and be like, oh, don't do that. What terrible judgment. How could you be so dumb? Or just sort of have your heart broken because this is where they arrived. Many people, I imagine, listening to this are saying, well, give me all that money. I wouldn't throw it away that way. Strip club in my house. Get the hell out of here.
And I understand that. I think what makes you sad about this is you have these guys, in particular Sebastian Telfair, that had literally the whole, like, the world was his oyster. He had everything, Dan. He was going to be an NBA All-Star. He was going to be an NBA star. He was a prodigy, and he blew it all, right? He never turned into that, and then he resorted to this because that never worked out the way he wanted it to.
We've probably covered this, but why is the world someone's oyster? I'm imagining that I've asked that question before, but when you say the world was his oyster, do you...
I have no idea. I'm on it, though. I'll check.
But do you know what you're saying? You know what you're saying when the world was his oyster is because oysters have pearls in them?
I believe, yes, that, he had pearls in his future. The world is his oyster. Yes, he had wealth.
Jessica is shaking her head vigorously while shoveling bananas and oatmeal into her face. Okay, well, why is the world the oyster? You have a theory, Jessica?
I think it's because, like, it's an expression. It's like you're in the position where anything can be yours. Like an oyster is in the ocean and everything can pass through it. And I don't know.
Okay, you don't know
not
either.
the pearl thing.
Well, no, it's a pearl thing. The internet says.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, because oysters have pearls in them sometimes, and you can open it up, and it's tied to wealth.
Okay.
Stugotz.
Don't ever ask me a question while I'm eating breakfast ever again. Dan.
You shook your head.
I'm just trying to like
You were mad at us.
take while I'm eating.
Stugotz.
I don't even have my headphones on. I can't hear you right now. I'm trying to swallow my breakfast.
We do a show where I work off of facial cues. You're yelling at me for going to you because you were disagreeing
I'm
with
hungry.
Stugotz.
Don't give me a lunch break on this show.
We all dread this every week. What are the worst punishments that are left? Because we're headed again toward this weekend where we're watching football and it just sits there. I don't know if it does this for you guys, but it is a plague. It's the only thing that's bad about the football experience of the weekend for me is having the Jets 2 weeks ago.
I thought this was fun as a listener. I've lost 4 straight weeks.
Yep.
Oh,
I chose the Donda, by the way. So I'm negotiating a deal with a local sports team to spend the night at a local sports stadium.
That's awesome.
are you going to create content while you're there, like
Yes.
brushing your teeth at a sink where the team plays soccer?
You'll have to make sure whatever venue you choose has a stove. I mean,
so you can have an alarm. That's correct. All right, let's go ahead and do this. The bucket of death. The Reaper is here, and Mike Ryan, you're going to go first today.
Yeah, I'm in a rush, which is why you're not catching me on camera right now. If you're watching on social media or YouTube, it's just a disembodied voice getting ready to go to the bucket. Undefeated so far this year, by the way.
Nice.
Undefeated,
Good job, Mike.
and Whittingham is 0-4. I'm so sorry, Whittingham. That's terrible. Mike said you got to do this with conviction. If you got a gut feeling, even if it's an underdog at the beginning, you got to ride with it.
The Baltimore Ravens are playing the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football. Where is that game, gents, and what's the line?
it's in Baltimore
Yeah.
at 6.5, Mike.
6.5.
See you later.
I'm going to keep the Ravens.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody.
Nobody likes it when you win. Get out of here. You're not wanted here. People like it when we suffer. Let's go over to Chris Cody. Chris Cody, the Reaper, requires you there so that we could go in order.
I think we have to go to Tony first,
Either
then we'll
way.
go to Chris.
Either
right?
way.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Let's do this with.
All right, I'm going first.
All right, Chris is go.
I got the 49ers.
Ooh.
Talk to me.
At the Cardinals.
Spread.
5-point dog.
All right.
All lines
Put it
presented
back.
by our friends at DraftKings,
Yep.
by the way.
Love DK.
Yep.
All right.
Back,
I got the Chargers.
Ooh.
The Chargers are at home, 2-point favorite against the Browns.
Guess I got to keep it.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. And the Reaper is coming back around
The
here
Reaper
for
has
Tony.
to be nimble. It's a crowded area. The Reaper
He's
is
mumbling
down-
complaints as he does it.
Hey, Reaper, we don't need to hear any sounds from you.
You have that quarterback at home, and you don't feel good about it. I
You
mean,
don't feel good about anything in this league.
Oh, the Chiefs.
Oh, you do feel good about them. Yes, you do.
Right? I don't even know they're playing.
They're only a 3-point favorite at home against the Bills.
The worst time to get the Chiefs.
The only-
Literally the worst time to pick the Chiefs.
I'm gonna keep it.
All right, there it is.
Nice.
Home game. Look at him, real bold and daring. I'm taking the
That's
Chiefs
right,
at home.
Dano.
I'm so courageous. I'm brave. Whittingham is going to the bucket now.
0 for 4.
Feel for him.
All right, I have the Titans, who are 4-point favorites away at the Jags.
You take that.
I'm keeping it.
Yes,
All right.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
This is the Jags' first win of the season for sure.
It would be so funny if they won this weekend, though.
Oh, because you don't feel good about anything in here. If they won, the Jags aren't the Jags the team that has played the Cardinals the toughest. Like the
The
league doesn't
Titans
make
also
any
have like
sense.
700 injuries. I don't know if you saw that injury report, but it was laughable.
The Vikings actually should have beaten the Cardinals. They didn't.
Okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
Let's go here, Jessica. You go ahead and reach in there and see what you got. Golden helmet of life.
No,
That's not it.
It's the Jaguars. I'm
That's
putting
a
it back.
fine.
It's the opposite
the
of
biggest
that.
of fines.
It's the
There
opposite of
could
that.
not be two greater disparities.
The golden helmet from hell.
Oh no.
I just did the John
That's our
Sterling
Bryles
call.
helmets. I
I
mean-
just did the John
What
Sterling
did I
call.
do wrong there?
He's at
What
first
did I do
base.
wrong? It's a golden helmet of death.
Wow. The Jags
So
and
she
the
put
Jets.
it. She put it
back-to-back
back and got
helmets.
the Jets.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but the Jets against the Falcons, and it's in London.
That's
so
still, all right, you're a
Oh,
three-point dog. You're a three-point
But in
dog.
London, it's anyone's game.
they're on a hot
Roy.
streak. I told you,
Tottenham
easy
Hotspur
part of the
Stadium.
schedule.
I got the Rams.
So the Rams are
Ooh,
always
tonight.
a favorite. That shouldn't be in there.
No.
Yeah.
Bye week.
No. Pick up. Okay, hold on. We're gonna stop. We're using this today. The Rams are 1.5-point favorites. So Roy, can you just say Rams again?
Oh, we are using this
Yes,
today?
yeah, we are.
I'm sorry.
No, just
Okay.
say Rams. Let's pick up there. Roy, say Rams.
I got the Rams.
The
Oh,
Rams. The
Billy.
Rams.
1.5-point favorites on Thursday Night Football would be head-to-head with Billy's selection of the Seahawks.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh man,
You
this is
gonna
a
keep
tough
it?
one. This is a tough one. I think I might have to put this one back.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's a good
Wow,
call.
I
That's
would
a
have
good
taken the
call.
Rams.
Old show.
Wow.
You're gonna regret that.
I have the swap helmet.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's
you
a
wanna
good
swap with
helmet
me?
to
Greg's
have.
money. Take Greg's money.
No, Roy, you have to pick another
Oh.
helmet
Yeah, I have
so
to
you
pick
can
another
determine
helmet.
what you're swapping with.
Wait, that's true. Greg got the fine bucket.
$60.
$60.
And Cody can again lose the $60 to Roy.
But it's only $60, Roy. It's an automatic death for you.
I'm definitely gonna swap with somebody because I picked the Giants.
7-point dogs away at the Cowboys.
Okay.
And Greg Cody gets his money taken
Wait.
again.
So
Roy.
Roy gets to see how the rest plays out, though, before he swaps. Right.
He can swap with anyone. He
I am
doesn't have
not
to
swapping right now. I'm gonna wait till everybody picks.
All right,
good.
very smart,
Go
Roy.
ahead, Reaper.
Wise. Let's go, Reaper.
Yes,
Come in
once.
here. Stugotz, very measured, excellent move to not be tempted by the $60 of Greg Cody. It's all Stugotz saw. I can steal money. There's a way to steal someone's money.
It'd just be funny if Greg Cody never gets money out of that.
No, it would be funny. But that your alert went up and you
Of
immediately
course.
said the one thing
Quiche.
I want is quiche.
I'm rummaging, man.
Thank you, Stugotz.
You got it. Here we go. I got a helmet, Dana. I got a helmet. It's in my hand. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't want that quarterback.
The Steelers are a 1-point favorite at home against the Broncos.
I actually like them.
You guys have to play this game differently now, knowing that Roy has a swap. You almost want to keep a middle of the road. You don't want to keep the best helmet in there because you know Roy will just take it.
You know what? I'm going to keep the Steelers here. I'm going to keep the Steelers.
Could be Drew Lock
Oh,
because
wait.
Teddy Bridgewater is in concussion protocol.
Oh, man.
I'm saying that's a point in the Steelers' favor.
I know. And does Fangs lose 2 in a row? I mean, he never does except
Dan's
when he
already
does.
rummaging.
Yeah.
So
Steelers
it's
aren't
like-
going to go 1-4.
You want me to
Stugotz.
stop? You want
No,
to?
no. I feel good with the Steelers at home. I do.
I got the Bears.
I like that.
The Bears are at the Raiders.
I don't like it.
You like that?
Why did you say
He
that?
just,
thought it was a
it's
different
just, it's
matchup.
just words.
They're 5.5
It's
point
just
dogs away at the
words.
Raiders.
I
Justin
mean, no one
Fields looked
knows.
great last week. He didn't have to use his legs, and he looked good.
But this is a middle of the road pick, right? I don't like it. I don't want this.
You can do slightly better than 5.5 point dogs away
Or
at the
a
Raiders.
lot worse.
To your
I'm-
point, Roy's probably not going to steal it.
I'm telling you right now, I know the helmet that Roy's getting. If he's smart, and Roy is smart,
The
he's
Titans over here with
No. Roy, don't forget who just left, okay? And the helmet he drew.
Mike Ryan has the Ravens.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's
All
the
right,
swap.
well, I guess Stugotz is giving me some help here. It's the swap unless I pick something better here.
Correct. I don't.
Now I got the Broncos, and now I'm stuck with Drew Lock.
We're head to head, me and you.
Okay,
How about
great.
that?
All right, I don't like that at all. Drew Lock on the road.
I have Ben.
I've got fangs. I've got a watch is the most unfortunate part.
All right, so Mike officially has the Giants because I'm taking the Ravens helmet.
You're not gonna
All
take
right.
$60?
No.
$60 in instant death.
But $60.
It is $60.
How much tea could you buy with $60?
$60.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm not. Thank you.
The Ravens it is.
Roy? You're welcome.
Mike's going to be mad at me now. I know.
Thank you, Reaper.